So this screen that we see here, this is my very first meeting with my new MacBook Pro 14. So this is one of the new ones with the M1 Max chip. And I've chosen this screen. I'm actually running a couple big screens off of it, but for this presentation, I'm just using the little screen so that it'll fit on your screen. So speaking of which, I want to show you how you can make sure you can see the whole screen. When someone's sharing his screen through Zoom, if it's a big screen and you've got a small screen, it's not going to fit unless you do a couple things. So I'm going to show you, I took a couple screenshots to show you how this should look for you. Let's start with this one. So when you, no, not this one, sorry, let's start with this one. When you're looking at a screen that looks something like this, there's a couple of interesting parts about it. One is there's this little split here, this bar. You can grab that bar and drag it left and right. So if you want to see, less of me, you pull that over to the right, and that way you get more screen, and you can go vice versa, of course. So then let's see, I'm going to do one more thing here. I want to do one more thing for you. I also want to show you how you can make it fit in to fit the whole screen onto your screen. So the way we do that, to show you a different, window. Just a minute here. We'll close that one. So if you move the mouse around when you're in a Zoom meeting, you'll see some controls pop up, and one of them is going to be up here near the top. And the choice you want to make here is to fit in Windows. So you see the whole screen on your screen. All right, so that's it. So now let's get on with the show. Okay, I'm going to close that. So I'm going to try to do everything from the menus, because if I do stuff with keyboard shortcuts, you won't see the keys I'm pressing. So this is the way we like to do it. So if you see me doing slow motion things like choosing something from a menu, it's not because I don't know how, but it's because I want you to make sure you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so here's my window. Finally, I think we're ready to go. And well, we're not quite ready to go. There's one more thing I want to do. I want to show you how to make the cursor bigger. So you see my pointer is really little. Now, if I wiggle it, it gets big, but it's awfully little for a presentation like this. So we're going to make this bigger. And I'm going to show you how to do it instead of doing it in advance, because you might actually want your cursor to be bigger all the time, so you can find it. So in the system preferences, and I forgot to tell you, this is system 12.2.1. It's the newest system. Other systems, the things I'm going to show you will mostly work, maybe slightly different, but anyway, we're doing the new stuff. So in system preferences, there's this thing called accessibility. And as you can see here, accessibility right there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to click on it, is what we're going to do now. So when I click on it, we get a bunch of choices. And the one I want is this one called display. And in display, we're going to go to pointer. And in pointer, I'm going to make the cursor bigger. So you can see I can make it quite a bit bigger. I can also change the outline color of it. Right now it's outlined in white, as you can see, but we're going to make it even better than that. I'm going to make it this nice hot green, I hope. Let's see if I can do this here. Sometimes when you're sharing stuff in Zoom, you can't quite, there you go. That's what I want. So now that's a cursor, right? That's a cursor we can see. So I hope that's an advantage to you. George, does it look pretty good?
It looks pretty good.
Thanks, Sheeta. Okay,
yes.
So now let's get cracking. Let's do some stuff. So you all sent me a lot of questions, and most of them were about the Mac. That's good, because that's what this is about. But most of them were also really specific. They're more like troubleshooting kinds of problems. And Most of you who sent those in, I've already sent responses to you about, we'll try to figure these things out, maybe one-on-one, because many of these questions were so specific that I don't think they would be of interest to the whole group. So I've got some other things I'm going to show you, and I'll take extra questions today if things come up, but I want to show you some things that I think you probably don't know about. And hopefully that will, that'll make you a happy group and a good meeting. So first thing I want to show you is here in the Finder, I seem to have a very neat Mac here. Look at how my stuff is all laid out so nice and neat, but in actual fact, it really looks like this. Okay. Okay. So if you all had your sound on, I know you would be groaning because it looks bad, right? Okay. So I want to show you how do we use this thing called Stacks. So Stacks is under the View menu, and Stacks is only for the desktop. But when you use Stacks, your stuff gets organized all by itself, and it's organized according to certain sort of grouping things here. We're grouping here by kind, all right? So in this case, the stacks are grouped by kind. So I've got a whole stack of applications. I've got a stack of documents here, a stack of images. And the way these things work is they're kind of piles of things. If I click on one, if I click on the stack of images, just going to click once, they pop out. I can see the images. I can open up one of the images. If I wanted to open up, say, this one here, it just opens up as normal. But when I want to put the stack back, I can click on the stack. You see it's got this little down arrow on it. If I click on it, it goes back. So this is a really neat way to get your desktop all cleaned up without you doing any work. Now, it'd be good if I got organized anyway on my own, but if you don't have time for that, this is a great way to go. Okay, now you can also organize things in the stacks instead of by kind, but by date. And I like this too. So let's say we look at, we do it by the date modified. So now we're going to get stacks instead of by sort of category, we're going to get stacks sort of by date. So these are the things I was working on yesterday up here. These are things in the last week, the last month, and then other months, and then we can go back into other years. So if I want to see the things I was working on the last week, and that's the way it works a lot of times. You say, gee, I forgot what this document's called. I don't know where it is, but I know I worked on it this week. Well, I could click here and it all pops open and I see all these screenshots I was taking while I was preparing for classes and things. So this is a neat way to go too. There's no right and wrong. Your stuff isn't moved anywhere. It's still on the desktop. But this is a neat way to go. Now, I did get one really good question about that is, can I move the stacks? Because they're always over to the right. And can I grab a stack and put it over here? No, the answer is no. So what you can do, the only thing you can do is you can adjust the spacing in the stack, and that's doable here. If you go to View Options, you can adjust the grid spacing like this, and so I can move them a little bit, but not very much. I really can't put them where we want to put them. So that's the View Options, but that's about all you can do there. Okay, now I'm going to show you something else that's going to make using your Mac easier and better. Now, I've set up a lot of Macs, and I've been doing this since 1988, and full-time since 1991. And in that time, Apple's changed some of their preferences, which affect us. So when you buy a new Mac or you install a new system, you get the settings that Apple thinks are right for you at that time, and they're different than the settings they used to use. So I'm going to show you how to use some of the ones that I think they used to use that were better. So let's go to system preferences again.
Christian?
Yes.
Excuse me, before you go into that, Jim Cutler, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Oh, great. Thanks, Sheeta.
Yeah, it's a little confusing because you haven't said it, but I'm hoping that that stack of 2020 items is only 2020 items from the desktop, not from everywhere.
That's a great question. I didn't think about that. Why don't we go find out? Okay, so I'll open up, let's just open up a document here. I believe it's they're from everywhere, but we're gonna see. Let's see. So here's the document. I'll just double click. Let's put this away. Let's double click this document here, and I'll be able to see where it is. There's a lot of ways to see where it is. I'm gonna hold the command key down. I can see it's on the desktop. No, so you were right. It's stuff that's on the desktop.
Okay.
So
That relieves me a lot because I would fill the screen if it looked at everything else.
yeah, okay, good question. Good question, and now I know.
May I
Thank
interrupt for a second? I just checked. This is Eckhart, the host.
Hi,
I
Eckhart.
just checked our Zoom settings regarding chat. And according to the way our meeting is set, everyone should be able to chat with everyone. And I wonder whether, and I saved it, and maybe if you can check right now whether our normal system has been reinstated or whether the problem persists. I would
Sadly not, Eckhart.
Okay.
Eckhart, it persists.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So we'll continue on. If you have questions, if you need to put them in the chat, send them directly to me, and we'll just continue on that way. Thank you. Thank you, Eckhart.
Okay. So that stacks business didn't show up until can't remember, system maybe 10.15. So it's been around a couple of years. But as with a lot of things Apple does, they sort of slide in there without a lot of fanfare. And so if you're a long time Mac user, you kind of think you know how things work, and they sneak in a new feature there, and you know, that's one of them. That's one of the ones that if you're not shown it, you're probably not going to find it. All right, so let's look at some preferences that I think will make your Mac easier and better to use overall. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look in the general preferences. There's a lot of good stuff over here in general. So we'll click on general, and one of the things I like is to show the scroll bars. This is one of those things that Apple turned off. It used to be we always saw the scroll bars on every window that needed scrolling. That you'd see scroll bars, but now you don't know whether a window needs scrolling until you try scrolling it yourself, and then it either shows scroll bars at that time or not. So I think it's simpler if you always do it. And I'm going to show you some examples of that in just a minute. In fact, why don't I show you an example of that? I'll show you an example of that right now. So let's say I open up a, let's clear that up there, clean that up. All right. So supposing here, you can see in this window, there's a scroll bar right here, and it tells you that, hey, there's stuff to scroll. And in fact, the length of the scroll bar shows us that we are almost showing half of what's in this sidebar. So if I pull this down to here, there's still a little bit more, pull it down to here, that's it. So if I made the window smaller, you see the scroll bar correspondingly shrinks to show you we're not showing as much of the content now. We're showing about 25%. Here we're at 50, here's 75, here's the whole thing. So scroll bar is really useful. Now, that's when you're showing the scroll bar. If we're not showing it, suppose we do this. This is the default to show scroll bars automatically, okay? But now you can't tell. When you look at this window, you don't know that there's a lot of stuff either above or below what you're seeing here. So when you start to move, you start to see the scroll bar. But at that point, so I'm scrolling with 2 fingers here to scroll. You're losing information here. You don't know that you should scroll unless the scroll bar is showing. So I say, do this. Apple always used to do this. And then when iPads and iPhones got so popular, they changed the way the Mac works. So it looked more like an iPhone because the iPhone doesn't have scroll bars until you move. Okay, this is also where you can set your default web browser, which if you like Safari, you can leave it like this. This is where it is. If you want to use something else all the time, then you could change it here. And so you simply could change it by doing this, and it knows about the other browsers that I have on the machine, and you could do it like that. Now, each browser tries to be the default one. They're going to ask you over and over, do you want me to be the default? But it's nice to be able to do it here. And what this all means, being the default browser, means that when you get a link, say in an email, and you click that link, something's got to open. Well, it's whichever web browser is set as the default, that's the one that's going to open. So if you find that you keep clicking on links in emails that people send you, and you keep ending up in the browser you don't want to be in, this is where you go and fix that. Okay. Okay. One more thing we're going to do. You saw already, we use this accessibility control panel. Preference pane, strictly speaking, is what it's called. If you click on this, there are a lot of options in here. And one of the ones that I really like in this display, we've already done the pointer one, right? You saw me do this. And this where it says shake mouse pointer to locate, that means shake it and it gets bigger. Even if it's small, it gets bigger. But if you look here at the display, I've turned on reduce transparency. So Apple likes to, like things to look pretty. If I uncheck this, you see how my menu bar up there at the top is now white on black. So when I click on something, it's white on black. But then what's annoying is when you click on it, the rest of it is black on gray. And it's, to me, it's distracting. I want a nice, reliable, consistent menu bar up here. In fact, your menu bar would take on the color of your desktop picture. I've gone gray here, so it's not distracting, but you would see your menu bar in different colors. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to turn on reduce transparency, and now it's a nice, reliable, predictable situation. I want to also show you one more thing here in the dock settings. So the dock, of course, is this bar across the bottom, and you notice when I point to mine, it doesn't squirm around because I've turned magnification off. So if magnification's on, which is the default, when you point to things, they squirm around. And this makes a great demo. It's really beautiful. And Steve Jobs used to really show this thing off. And it looks great, but it's really hard to use because stuff keeps moving. How can you click on something that moves, right? So it makes you feel clumsy. So we'll just turn the magnification off, and then the stuff stays there. Doesn't mean that the stuff is any smaller. I mean, the bar stayed as big as it was because of this here. So I can make the docks small if I want, but I've made it as big as it'll fit on the screen. But it doesn't need to magnify when I point to it. I like these things to stay put. Okay, so those are a couple settings that I think are very useful for you to know. Now, are there questions? I see a question down there in the chat. Is it anything I should know, Sheeta?
Yes, Sam Schlegel, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Am I unmuted? Okay.
You're unmuted.
Doesn't keeping all sorts of documents and things on your desktop slow down the computer like it used to?
That's a good question. They say it does. I should be neater, but no. I try to be good, but I think it's going to take me more time to clean it up than it is to I've got a fast computer now, so it can handle it. I don't see it slowing it down. I mean, the truth is that each one of these little icons is really it's a window that's been well, it's a window that needs to be drawn. And so, yes, it is slower when you have more items on the screen, but it doesn't seem to be dragging my machine down here. Okay, I want to show you a couple other things. It's a good question, though. I mean, technically, it would be better if I didn't have so many things on the desktop. I should clean up. Okay, at least I've got some things in other folders, so that's a plus. All right, so I want to show you some things here. This is a finder window, and I'm sure we know that we can grab the finder windows and move them around. As long as I grab something that isn't a button, I can just grab and move it around. I can actually grab it from the sides and resize it like so. From the bottom, I can also resize it. Used to be you could only do it from the corner like this, but you still can do the corner. In fact, you can do other corners. So you can grab any corner you want, move it around, and move around from the title bar. Okay, that's all good stuff. And I think we probably know most of that. But one of the things we don't know is this sidebar over here. This is a typical Apple construction of a window, and you see this in many apps. You'll see it in the Photos app. You'll see it in music. You see it in a lot of apps these days. You see it in Mail. You've got something skinny down the side, and you have more content over here to the right. So we got to get good at this. So what we do is you may notice here it says favorites in kind of gray, and you see when I point to it, there's this tiny little down arrow right here. Oops. We're on Do Not Disturb, but when someone calls you 3 times, it rings. So sorry about that. All right, so when I point to here where it says favorites, if I click on this, it all disappears. Okay, so I'm clicking on these little things. And so if your sidebar looks like this, it probably means that you accidentally clicked on one of those little menus. And this is one of those things I really don't like about the way the Mac system is working. These things don't show you. They don't show you where they should show you. They should show you something up here to indicate that this favorites thing is collapsed, or that these tags are collapsed. You can't tell that they're collapsed because there's no little indicator like you would see with a folder that's collapsed. So what you have to do is you have to kind of play Ouija with it, and as you mouse over it, all of a sudden, hey, there's this little thing. I should click this. Yes, you should. And when you click it, it flops open like this. So if you have somehow lost a bunch of things that used to be in the sidebar in some app, whether it's the Finder like this, or maybe it's in Photos, or maybe it's in Music, hover over these headings and see if when you point to it, you get a little arrow that's pointing down, and then you can flip them out. All right, so that's something to know how to do. Now, the other thing to know how to do is to put stuff over here. So let's say I've got a folder that I'm going to be using a lot. I'd like to have it over here in my favorites. So you can see I've got a lot of things in the favorites here that you probably don't have. You probably have a desktop folder and a documents folder, a recents folder, some other things. But I'm just going to go find some random folder of mine, and I'm going to put it in here. I'll pretend it's the project I'm working on for somebody, and I want to have it handy. So let's see if I can go find myself a folder here. Let me sort these by kind to get all my folders together. That would be smart. Okay, well, here's this folder of eBay images. I want to take this. I'm going to put some things on eBay, and I want to get to this easily. I can just grab it, just drag it over here. And I don't want to land it inside something, right? I want to see that line, that blue line, to show me where it's going to go. It's going to go right in between these two things. And there it is. So now, from now on, if I want to get to it, this is just a shortcut to pop it open. I mean, where this really is, if I really want to see where it is, I can point to it, and I can see, if I hold the command key down, I can see the path. It's on the desktop. in my user, in the user folder on the hard disk. And so it's not a whole lot hard to find them, and you can see it right here on the desktop, but if I don't have the stacks going, now you can't find it, right? But see, now I can get straight to it because it's right here. So no matter what I'm looking at, I can just click my eBay CD images and there they are. Okay, so that's a nice thing to do, to be able to put stuff into here. And it's also possible to take stuff out of there. If you don't need, there's like this squashed files folder, I can just grab it and take it out. And actually, you cannot grab it and take it out. Good question there. What you can do is, oh yes, you can. I guess I just dragged it out. But you can also control click on something like this. If I hold the control key down and click on it, I can remove it from the sidebar. Okay, so I'll do that now and see if I can put it back. No, there's no undo there. Okay, well, so I've lost that. That's the way it goes. You see how I sacrifice for you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so let's, and you notice here I can't use stacks because stacks is only for the desktop. And right now I'm looking at this pictures folder. So I'm gonna stack this up again so we have a little less distraction. Okay, so I want to show you also in here more about Finder Windows. I mean, one of the hardest things is finding your stuff, right? You save it somewhere, it goes somewhere. Where did it go? Well, so that's why we use the finders is to find things. There is this nice search here, which is easy. You can search for just about anything. You can search for things by name, but you can also search, you know, by dates and by kind. So if I was looking for a picture of I'll look for a picture of a chicken. Or I'll look for chicken anyway. So it could have a file name that has chicken in it. It could be, but it could be a document that's got the word chicken in it. Apparently, I've been doing a lot of chicken work lately because there's an awful lot of documents here that have the word chicken in them. So here's a fried chicken recipe. Okay, so you can search, and that's great. But you know, if you're visually looking for stuff, like if I'm looking at these pictures here, and I wonder how big are these pictures? Well, you know, the normal person is going to maybe click on it and get info. You can do that. If you're really cool, you do the Command I, but so we'll do get info. And this tells me an awful lot of stuff, but this is the part I care about is right here, that it's 480 pixels by 640 pixels. Not a lot of pixels, but you know, that might not be the one I want to use for a high res thing. So what we can do is we can sort of customize this window, and most people don't do it, but we're going to do it. We're going to look at the view options. So in the view options, we can choose here where it says show, whoopsie, sorry, just made that go away. Let's bring that back. So where's my, here we go. Here's my view options. What I want to do is I want to show item info. It's this little checkbox right here. When I do this, it might be a little hard to see, but in that tiny blue writing, it tells me something about those documents. It tells me the size of them. So if I looked at another folder, like this pictures folder here, this one's not showing it because this is on a folder, on a window by window basis. So if I click here now, I can look at some of these documents. I can see, okay, this is a high res picture. This picture is 3024 by 4032 pixels. That's a high res picture. Whereas like this picture is really not high res. This is 994 by 917. So it's a nice handy thing to be able to do, especially if you've got different versions of pictures and one of them is the high res one and one of them's not. This way you can figure out what they are without opening them. Now, there is one other thing that I want to show you here, which is in this window, we see across the bottom, we see here something that you may not see. So this is showing me the path to this, to the document that I've highlighted. So if I come back here and maybe I'll click on this one, it tells me where it is, right? It tells me where it is. It's this item is called screenshot at all this stuff squashed. It is in the pictures folder in the Christian Boyce Mac, C Boyce Mac Pro folder, which is my user. So we know where this is. So sometimes you kind of get lost and you're wondering where is this document? Well, this path bar is really handy to show you. And you can go here under view, you can say either to show it or hide the path bar. So that's a path bar. So now it's gone and now it's back. Another thing that's interesting here in this window is I see at the bottom how much space is available on this disk. I've got quite a lot left. That's because it's because I bought a big hard disk is why, but that is the status bar. So if the status bar isn't showing, then I don't know. So I think this is more of a typical window. This is what most people are going to see. But there's sort of information to be gained for free just by showing the path bar and showing the status bar. And those are really handy. Now, one other thing you might notice is I have icons across the top. Like I've got it my own like special dock up here at the top, and most people don't, right? Most people do not have any apps up there. They have to go down to the dock to go pick something from down here. Well, sometimes that's just not convenient. It's too far. So what I've done is I've put apps in the bar here, because just as it's handy to have things in the favorites over here on the left, it's handy for me to have apps up here that I'm working with at the moment. So sometimes I have, like right now, I have a couple of big projects that involve this program called BB Edit, this thing called Fine Reader, and then Excel. I just need to get to them all the time. So rather than go down to the dock, which is way down there, I can access them from up here where my cursor might be a little closer. So, and in fact, suppose you had something like this picture, I want to open this picture. Well, I can drag it to the app that I want to open it with. So if I want to open it with Pixelmator, I can drag it onto there. I can drag it onto here. So it's, anyway, these are handy. It's handy to put things up here. And how do we do it? Well, let's go find the applications folder. So I'm going to go to the applications folder like this. Here's all my applications. And, you see I put the calculator up here, so it's handy for me. And you might want to do that one, but I'll find something else I want, maybe the calendar. So if I try to take the calendar and drag it up here, it doesn't go. Okay, you can try this all day long. It doesn't go. So there's a trick to it. Of course, the trick is hold the command key down. So the command key is that one that looks like sort of a clover right next to the space bar. If you hold down the command key, then you drag it, you can park it in the toolbar up there. Very handy. Okay, very, very handy. So I think you might want to do that. It doesn't move it. It just gives you a shortcut to it. So now, no matter what I'm doing, let's say I'm here, I can just quickly go to the calendar like this, and I can launch it. Just click it. There's the calendar. Okay. So put the things you want up there, and when you're tired of them, see, I can't really move it, can I? But if I hold the command key, since you've learned, if we hold the command key down, I can move them, rearrange them, and I can also take them out. Okay, and it goes poof when it goes, which is sort of fun. All right, so this is how you sort of customize your Finder windows. Okay, good stuff. Questions, good time for questions now.
Yeah, let's handle a question.
Oh my gosh, we got 33 things in the chat.
Okay, can Charles Cranmer, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, Christian, recently I had this relocated items pop up on the bottom of my Mac, and I've never had that before. And what is that, and what should I do with that?
That's a great question. So as you see, I've got one too. Here's one, and here's another one. Relocated items is a folder. Well, it's not strictly a folder. It's an alias to a folder. So it's a shortcut to a folder that contains things that Apple moved for you during a system update. So there are certain things that used to live in the system folder or maybe in the library folder, and Apple doesn't let them live there anymore. And so mostly it's security stuff that they've removed certain options that the programs used to have. Now, the best answer is when you open up relocated items, here's something that says, what are relocated items? Well, you can read all about it. And as this is the key, is that these things are probably incompatible with the upgrade you just got. Now, in real life, it seems to make no difference at all whether you keep these things or not. So what I do is toss them, because you can see what's in here. I can flip open this folder and you dig. These things are not being used, okay? They've been moved out, so they are not being used. And unless you're doing something really special, where you've had to customize some sort of system file, throwing these things away isn't going to make any difference. So I'd say go ahead and toss it. At the very least, you don't need to see it on your desktop. See, remember that this is an alias, right? You see that tiny little arrow, that curvy arrow down there at the bottom left? That means this is an alias pointing to the real thing. The real thing is in this shared folder, okay? But the shortcut to it is on the desktop. There's no crime in taking this folder, this alias, and throwing it away. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw it away. So there's of course a variety of ways to throw it away. One way to do it is to click on it and to go up here and say move to trash. That'll work. Poof, gone. Yeah, but remember, I only threw away the alias. So really, I've thrown it away to get the clutter off my desktop, because we already know I have too many things there, right? Now I've made a big difference. I've thrown out one thing, but the other pieces are still there in case I actually did need them. Okay, good. That's a great question.
Okay.
Okay.
Alan, yes, Alan, can you unmute yourself and ask a question?
Yes, Christian, how do you get that applications bar up the top to begin with? I know how you got into it, but how did you get that applications bar to appear there altogether?
Okay, good question. So when you're in the Finder here, let's see, I gotta move something just a minute. My Zoom stuff covers up some of my controls. Okay, so here's a window. I'm in the icon view. If you look under, no, I'm in the list view. If I'm in any view, this bar should be here. If it's not there, it's because the toolbar has been hidden like this. And you don't want to hide the toolbar. You want to show the toolbars. So once the bar's there, you can do all kinds of things, including you can customize this toolbar. And I'm going to try to make my toolbar look the way it used to look. I'm going to grab the default set of tools here, drag it up here. And this is sort of normal. This is what people are used to seeing, right? You're used to seeing something like this. Well, that's the same bar. It's just, I went to the applications folder like this. I grabbed something and held down the command key and dragged it up like this, and there it is. Okay. So I hope that answers that question. It's, I think I did.
So I'm so confused. That bar is there all the time, but it's usually empty.
It usually looks like this, with view options, so you can view by list, view by columns. This usually like this. It's got a sharing button in it, so it's got a search in it. Yeah, so should be there in system, just about any Mac system, any Finder window. Okay, if you don't see it,
okay,
you can contact, like you know how to contact me. Let's talk after the meeting. All right, we'll do our own private Zoom thing, and I'll set it up for you. Okay.
And And you have a couple of questions that also relate to this, Christian. People are asking about whether some of these settings for the view, like the path bar and the settings for the toolbar, if they are universal or if they are only like folder by folder.
Okay, that's a good question, because some of them are and some of them aren't. Now here, I've turned on, you see, I've turned on we turn on the path bar, and we turn on the status bar, right? And so now let's just open up some other windows. So I'll go up here, I'll make a new Finder window. And in this window, you don't see it, right? So we didn't set that as a default. So I'm gonna close that window. And let's look at our view options here. And we have the option here to use these things. We can use some of this stuff as defaults. So if I say, this is what I want spacing, a certain kind of spacing. I don't want them grouped. I want to use icons. Then when I make another window, let's make another window here. Let's see what happens here. Well, I didn't get that, did I?
It was set just to applications.
Oh, okay, thank you. So most of this stuff is going to be window by window, but see, if you're in one window, here's the tricky thing. Let's say you're in a window like this window, and we've set it up a certain way. Now, if I open up some other folder, the window didn't change, right? The contents of the window changed, but the window itself is the same window, so I still see the path bar and the info. So in that way, it seems as if it's universal, because a lot of times what we're doing is sort of drilling down into the same window. So I hope that sort of clarifies it, but it's certainly easy to change. And in fact, the other thing that's sort of fun is this customized toolbar here. If you go here, you get all these choices, and one of the ones I like is a trash can. So if I can put a trash can up here. So now, if I had something I want to throw away, like let's say I'm looking at something in something on the desktop, surely I've got something I could throw away. Well, I can click on something like this, and I can just hit the delete, and it flies into the trash. So I'm going to do that because, you know, I was telling you I was sort of destroying my Mac for your benefit, so you could see how this works. But I'm also going to show you how you undo it. So I'm going to select this item, and I'm going to say delete. Okay, it's gone. It's in the trash, but I do have this option here to go up to edit and say undo move, and it comes back. Okay, so just remember that if you accidentally put something in the trash, you can undo it. In fact, if I had moved it into another folder, suppose I accidentally grabbed it and put it over here, I can still come up here and say undo move. So it's very easy to make a mistake when you're dragging something and accidentally drop it. If there's anyone here who hasn't dropped a file while trying to move it and then lost it, I don't know who, you know, that's a very rare person. So if you do that, instead of, you know, digging around trying to find it, you could just go up to edit and say undo move, and it would go back to where it was, and you could start over and try it again. And another reason to use this button up here for deleting, I'm gonna get it in the trash for sure. I don't know if you've seen this, but sometimes people try to put stuff in the trash, and they get close and they get this little pile of stuff all around the trash, but it's not in it. But if you're gonna hit this button here, it's gonna go. Okay, it's gonna be perfect. So anyway, that's my suggestion there. Sheeta, how much time do I have?
You have 25 minutes.
Okay, good. Oh, we're doing great.
Mhm.
All right, so I want to show also some things about the dock. So, you know, we see the dock down here, and it's you know, we think we know what we're doing with this. It's changed a little bit over the years. So now we have a couple extra sections to it, but basically things that are in the dock all the way from the left-hand side to this first vertical bar here, those are things that are always in the dock. They're always going to be there no matter what. Now, if you've made your dock go vertical, that's fine too. I go sideways because if I go vertical, the icons get smaller because there's less space vertically. So now sometimes you open up an app though that isn't in the dock. Like let's just say I didn't have the calculator in the dock. Okay, I'm gonna take it out. That happens too. You just drag things out by mistake. Okay, so let's say you know that you've got a calculator, so you go to the applications folder and you look around, you find it, and here it is. Now, if I double click the calculator, you will see that temporarily it shows up in the dock, right? Like, oh, there it is. Hey, great, it's in the dock. And then I close it, and it's sort of in the dock, but it's to the right of that vertical line. It's not really over here where I want it. So one way to get it into the dock permanently is to click on it, hold it down here, and tell it to keep it in the dock. Okay, keep in the dock. Now, if I do that, you notice it hopped over to be in the area to the left of this line. Now, of course, I can move this and park it where I want now. I could have done that to begin with, but the point is that I'm able to click and hold, and I get options. Okay, and I can say keep in dock or remove from dock and other things. So if I get tired of having this calculator in the dock, I can click on it and hold it down, go to the options. I can say remove from dock, and that'll tear it out. It's more fun to drag it out and watch it go poof, but you know, you can do this. Okay. There's another one that's interesting. Open at login. So let's say that every time you turn your Mac on, you want to have the mail come up. Well, you could click on the mail on the dock, go to options and say open at login. So login is when you've typed in your password to start it up. Or yeah, so the mail would automatically open when you say open at login. And you can have lots of things open at login if you want. You know, too many things makes some clutter, but who am I to talk, right? So anyway, so the dock is nice. And you can also, here's another interesting thing. Suppose we do have some things going, like here's the mail going, and here's maybe I've got Excel going and calendar going. I can quit things from the dock. I can click where it says here calendar down here. I can click, hold it, and I can slide up and quit like this. And I can quit Excel here. I can quit it from here. So this is kind of a nice way to do it. I can click here and slide up to quit. Now, also you see windows that I have open in Mail are listed here. So I can switch to them too. One other thing that's sort of interesting here is when you have a program that's stuck and you need to force quit it, I think a lot of us know you can come up here to the Apple menu and go to force quit, and typically you'd see something in red and you could click on it and then you'd force quit it. It's not the way you want to do things, but sometimes you have to do it. So have to would mean that you try to go up here and say quit, and it won't quit. Okay, it's stuck. Well, you can also do it from the dock. That's the whole point of this. If you click here and you hold it, you see the quit. But if you hold down the option key, so I'm already clicking, but now I'm going to hold down the option key. Quit changes to force quit. You see that? I'm going to keep it down. So if I do this, it's going to pull the plug on it, and it's gone now. Force quitting isn't the way you want to do things. Force quitting is not gentle. Force quitting is like stopping your car by running it into a tree. Okay, it works, right? If you've ever done it. I'm just guessing that it works, but it works. But it's hard on the car, and it's not so good for the tree either. So what will happen next time when I go to start the mail, it's going to take longer to start up because it didn't get to be put away properly at the end. Okay, I just pulled the cord on it. So you see, it's taking more time to start and more sacrifices I'm making for you in my $10,000 class. Okay, so Okay, next time will be better. Next time will be better. So now, let's do
I have a question and a clarification.
beautiful. Good.
Let's start with the clarification because in the chat, people are saying use Command Z to undo something when you put it in the trash. That's not necessarily true, because if you put something in the trash and then do 5 different things, Command Z is going to undo those 5 different things, not take your file out of the trash. So understand, Command Z does not mean undelete. It means undo. Okay.
Correct. Good.
All
Very
right.
good.
And also you have a question from Joe. Joe, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? And I'm sorry, we have a bunch of Joes. Joe.
Oh, yeah, it's Joe
Okay.
Galicia.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So on the doc, is there any way to like do some automatic reorganization? Like if I wanted to do it by alphabet or something, or I know you can drag them around, but is there an easier way to do that?
That's the only way I know to do it, is to drag it around. In fact, people that are really good at this stuff like to have their stuff alphabetical, right? So they can find things, because even though this is a smallish subset of the apps that I have, it's still a lot of apps. So some sort of organization, some sort of grouping is good, but alphabetical is not bad for, maybe you put the key things you want right at the front, and then everything else alphabetical. That seems to be a good way to go. But you got to do it by hand.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Christian, all yours.
Well, and that's why I put some of the things up there in my Finder window up here too. I put some things in this toolbar up here, so I kind of have my own sort of secondary dock. So remember, I'm holding down the Command key and dragging things up here into this toolbar. I can still get it down here, right? But I have it up here too. Now, interestingly, in the dock, they know it's March 2nd, but up here they think it's July 17th, but that's just because that's the icon. This icon doesn't update up here. All right, got another one?
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, so I hope you don't have to do a lot of that forced quitting, but if you do, just remember you've got this chance to option. Well, if it's running, you've got a chance to option quit it. Now, I'm not going to quit Zoom, that'd be dumb, but I'd be out of the meeting, but you see how that works. Okay, I'm going to show you something else, something completely different. And this is something that's going to help make your typing go faster. So we're talking about something that's built into the system. There are ways to make this sort of supercharged with programs that you can buy to make it even better, but we're going to just do what is built in that everyone can do. And so in the system preferences, under keyboard, we have this thing called text. So in text, what we do is we make little shortcuts on the left that expand into these sort of longer chunks of text on the right. So for example, suppose I wanted to write out Naples Mac Friends user group, and I got tired of typing all of that. I just want to type a shortcut for it. Well, I'm gonna make one. So I'm gonna hit this plus down here, and I'm gonna put NM, Naples mug. Okay, that'll be my shortcut. And then over here will be what it's gonna say. So I'm gonna try to hope I get this all right here. I think I do it like this, capital like this. Okay, so that's a lot of typing. 2 characters versus how many that was. So now where do we get to use that? Well, we get to use this basically everywhere. So I'm going to open up, I'll open up an email because we all use email. And it would work whether your email was handled by Apple Mail or by something else. Okay, so here I'm making a new message, and I'm going to write. I'm going to say, you know, I had a great time with the, and I'm just going to type the NM. Okay, NM, and you see they're guessing, and they're right. Okay, so you see. Let's do that again in slow motion. I'm gonna make the text bigger too, so we can see what's happening here. So here's something here, nice and big. Okay, so I'm gonna type NM, and now you see they're guessing down here what I want to do. Just like any other autocorrect thing, they're suggesting it here. And if I either hit a space or a comma or a period or any other kind of punctuation to let them know I'm done typing, it's going to expand. So I'm going to I'll hit a comma here, and look, it's done it as if I typed all that myself. So how many characters is that? I don't know. Let's just say that's 20, maybe 20 characters, but it only cost me 2. So where else would you use this? Well, let's look at what I do here. I'm going to
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. That's where you use it. Okay. Let's make this. I'm gonna make this text bigger again. Let's look at some of the shortcuts that I have, and you'll see how handy these are. So this is in System Preferences, Keyboard, Text. You might think it should be shortcuts, but shortcuts is something else. These are the shortcuts that involve launching things and taking screenshots and that kind of stuff. We're doing text. So I have all kinds of words that I have to type all the time. Like, oh, here's one. I got tired of typing COVID-19. I'm tired of it in general, but I'm tired of typing it especially. So now if I do CV, it's expanded. Not only it made it capitals. Did you see like it's supposed to be? Let's look at some other ones. Here's a word. I do a lot of work with FileMaker Pro. It's a database program, and I need to type out notes about what I did to make invoices. And here's another one, MacBook Pro. And here's another one, iPhone. And all these things have special capitalization in them, right? They have, there's a capital M, there's a capital B, there's a capital P, and then the iPhone, you got the little I and the big P. So let's just do a few. If I want to say, I have a new MacBook Pro, I hit period, and it's done. Okay. If I want to do, I used FileMaker Pro, it's done. If I want to do, even if I want to make a registered trademark, suppose I want to put a trademark here. If I do TM, they change it to that. Okay, so I can do things like, I think this is going to be a registered trademark. Yep, they're like that. I think I can do copyright like this. So those are hard characters to type, but I can type them because I've got shortcuts here. If you look at the top here, here's a C in parentheses turns into that little copyright symbol. The R in parentheses gets me that R in the circle, and so on. So I can do some nice fractions. You want to type a really good looking fraction. Instead of typing, if I do 1/4 like this, you see how it's made a real proper fraction. So you really look pro this way. Here's my whole address. If I do CBADD, so I'll say send the to me at, and I'll put in CBADD, and there's my address. Okay, so, well, that's not my address. That's just my company. Let's do this. So do CBADD like this. There's my whole address. So that saves me an awful lot of typing. So you want to do this, okay? You do. This is gonna it's gonna help you a lot. You can use it when you're in text messaging. You can use it when you're in mail. You can use it when you're in Pages. You can use it when you're in Word. You name it, you can use it. Here's another one. This is sort of long. CB blog. If I'm writing an email to somebody and I want them to, I want them to know my web address, I can just type CB blog and it expands to this whole big long, well, you can see what it is, this big long thing with my website address in it. So very, very handy. And in fact, you can even do stuff with emojis. So here I type FB and it gives me a football. I think I have to demonstrate that one. Let's just see. I'll put this in an email again. Okay, come on, mail. All right, so we'll make a new message here, and I'm gonna make this nice and big so we can see it again. Okay.
And you have a bunch of questions after this, so.
Okay,
Just
let's
letting
have
you
it.
know.
I'm ready. So do you see I
Okay.
actually got an emoji in there. I don't have to go hunting for it anymore. It just did it for me. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, all right, Alan Kent, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, thank you. If I want to put a numeral with a fraction, such as 2.5, I can write the numeral 2 and I can do the 1/2 and it comes up, but there's a space between the 2 and the half. I've done it where I backspace to get rid of the space, but can I write 2.5 with a shortcut without having to backspace?
Well, I think you'd have to make, see, the problem there is that the 2 is a discrete thing and the half is a discrete thing. But you could make the shortcut that is, if I type a 2 and then a 1 and then a slash and then a 2, make it what you want it to be. You could do that if 2.5 is something you type all the time.
But I'd like it for 3.5 and 4.5 and 29.5.
Correct. Yes. Not using what Apple provides for free. No. There are other things that can handle that. And the one I like is called Typinator. And here it is. This is Typinator is all that stuff and then a whole lot more. So if you want to, go, big, you go with Typinator. There's others that are good too. There's Type It For Me and Text Expander. This is the one I like.
What about formatting it in an app the way you want and then copying it and then pasting that into the long shortcut? Because I've done that to get things exactly the way that I want them to be.
That's the way to do it. That's the way. Now, I have a few of these that I do that are formatted like crazy. I'll put us an email again because it's just a handy place to type, but this works everywhere. Okay, let's just wipe this stuff out. We're gonna so using Typinator, I've got some special instructions. I get people asking me all the time about how to set a default printer in so if they have more than one printer, how do I make sure it always goes to the right printer? And so I wrote it here and it's all formatted. And as you can see, I've got some italics here. I've got some bold and blue here. And all I've got to do is type in this shortcut. So if I'll park this over here and we'll see. Okay, so I'll say, here's how you do it. And then all I have to do is type my shortcut, which is set default printer. And there it is. See, it's formatted, it's the right size, it's the right color, everything is just perfect, right? So, okay, just a minute, do not disturb, there you go. So is that kind of what you were talking about? Yeah, so, okay, so that's
Alan, yeah, Alan, is that what you're talking about?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
can you, okay.
that would probably work.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say if you try Typinator, see, look, this thing I did, it gave me, like, here's italics in here. I got the font I like. You see, I'm no longer using Helvetica. This is Gil Sans, I believe, and then this is bold and blue. So you make it just the way you want it. I think what's going to happen is if you get into this more than just a little, you're going to outgrow what Apple builds in, and you'll want to get an app that helps you even more, and that would be Typinator for me. You can get a free
Okay.
trial of Typinator, I believe, I think 30 days, so no risk. All right, what, do we have more on that? More?
Okay.
Did you call on
No.
me?
Uh,
Okay. then let's-
no, keep going.
Okay, let's keep going. Okay, good. So let's talk about moving windows around and resizing them and stuff. I'm going to do it with Safari windows here. So here's a Safari window, and we'll go to a web page. I'll go to, I don't know, let's go to apple.com. Okay, not the way I did it, but we're going to try it again. I actually can't see what I'm typing because I have my toolbar is covering up the top of the screen. So I'm gonna move this a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. So here we've got one web page going, and this is nice. And I think one of the things we do a lot is we want to make it bigger. And so people tend to do this. They will click this green button, and when you do that, that's nice, except for you lose the menu bars and stuff. It's not so good. So I'm gonna see if I can get this back here. Okay, it's a little bit tricky because, okay, oh my goodness, I hope I'm still sharing my screen. Let's do this again.
Yes.
Yeah,
you
so
are
I
still
went
sharing
full
your
screen and I didn't mean to, and a lot of times we don't mean to, and what happens is the window kind of opens up in its own little world, and so you see all this sliding back and forth when you switch apps, and it's not the best way to go in my opinion. So I'm going to go to Apple again here, and what we're going to do instead is, instead of hitting the green button, we're going to hold down the Option key and click on the green button. Okay, when you do that, it's really hard to see here, but if you look at this area right here, okay, and look very carefully. Right now, it's just a solid red and a green and a yellow dot. Now, if I get my mouse up to it, what you really see there, which I don't believe I can you see this? Am I zooming it?
We can see them, yes.
Did I zoom? Did it get bigger?
No.
No, it's just for me. Okay.
Yes.
So what you get there is this two-headed arrow going like so, and that's going to go full screen. When it goes full screen, you're going to lose your menu bar, and it's not the best way to go. Okay, so what we're going to do instead is we're going to hold the Option key when we click on that green button, and when I do, here's what's going to do is it's going to get as big as it can without taking away the menu bar. Okay, as big as it needs to be anyway. So that's really handy. Now, Apple has some things built in that help you move windows around, but they're not as good as the thing I'm going to. Yeah,
Christian, there's actually a setting for that now. I can't remember exactly where it is, where you can tell it to do that permanently.
Is that right? Well, that's a good one to know. It's got to be in here somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there is a setting. We only have 2 minutes left, but there is a setting for that now.
Okay. Nice. Well, it shows something to learn every day. Okay, so what I want to show you though is the fact that you're holding the Option key down when you click gives you different behavior for that particular window. So this, I just by luck here, I get to show you in System Preferences, you can search. If you click in the search, you don't know where stuff is. Like if I'm looking for stuff about the pointer, you see they kind of, remember when I changed the pointer to be outlined in green and made it big? I went here to get it. Well, they think it might be there, it might be here, it might be here, but you can see that when I started searching, they're showing me, okay, the cursor size. Yeah, that's what I want. See, I didn't even know to call it cursor size. I just called it pointer, and they guessed for me. So if you're looking for a preference and you don't know what it's called, do a search, all right? And then you see it takes me right there. This is where we were before. Okay, so this window, the one thing I want to show you here is I use an app called Moom, which lets me resize windows the way I want them, like if I point to it, see, I didn't click, I just pointed. This will put the window on the right-hand side exactly half. I'll make a new window. Let's say I want to have two windows side by side. Oh, I did. Let's say I want to have this one be on top, like there's the top half, and then this one I can point. I gotta find my button. Okay, if I do this, I can put this on the bottom half if it works. Well, I'm a little bit stuck because of, this is a zoom issue, but the idea with Moom is that I can resize a window in this way by pointing. I can say I want it to be full screen. I can make it be half a screen. And even if the window's like way shoved down here like this, I can point like this and hopefully get my Moom to pop out here. Well, this works better when I'm not trying to share the screen, because sharing the screen takes over stuff. But the point is, there's an app called Moom, starts with an M. You can look it up on the internet and you can find it